You've probably heard this. Everybody has childhood trauma, you guys. You should just get over yourself and quit playing the victim card. We get this in the comments sometimes. And for whatever reason, it really makes certain people angry that we're focused on healing trauma. And maybe they get us mixed up with some other channels and some other things where people do just whine all the time. We work so hard here to change our lives. I don't know. I don't totally understand why it sets them off like that. But when people start calling me or anyone else here names, I normally just block them from commenting on the channel. Something stopped me today when I saw a particularly nasty comment, and I thought I'd share it with everybody, okay? I want to talk about it. I want to talk about what was said. It's from someone who calls himself Johnny. And he wrote in all capitals, all right? You know what? There's so many people now, I feel like I want to say it shouting. You know what? There's so many people now pulling the PTSD card. If anything traumatic ever happened to you in your life, you have PTSD. People need to stop using that as a damn crutch and quit blaming everybody else for all the bullshit that happened to you in your own life and move on and try to better yourself. Everybody's a victim now. Man up and handle your shit. Quit being a pussy. Okay. So I felt kind of angry about that. I just woken up, I do my daily practice, and then I look at the comments, and I usually have to do a little bit of hygiene there, get comments like this out of there. I was getting ready to just delete it or block him or something. And every once in a while, you've probably seen me do it. I get a little snarky with people. I said, ooh, Johnny is triggered. I think I was just messing with him, because he thinks that he's above getting triggered and all those capitals, I just think he is. So then he wrote back and he said something a little more thoughtful. And and this is where I started to think, you know what, I actually want to say something about this. He said, I was seriously abused when I was a kid, and I finally got to a point where I had to stop blaming the whole world for everything that ever happened to me. I discovered that it wasn't the child abuse that I experienced as a child that was the problem, or the years I spent getting high and doing drugs and drinking alcohol was the problem, nor was it the 7 years I spent on the streets, 4 of which I was a rail rider, or the times when I was shot and stabbed and almost died of thirst or hypothermia or heat stroke as the problem either, or the terminal cancer that I had back in 2011, or my ex-wife leaving me on my 38th birthday after 8 years of marriage with no warning. That wasn't the problem either. You know what the problem was? Me. I was the problem. Until I changed myself and quit blaming the whole world and everyone for everything bad that ever happened to me in my whole life, I would never be able to grow or change. And then 8 exclamation marks. People don't want to hear this. Stop being the damn victim. All right, so that's what he said. I'm sure you're having feelings about it, but you know what? Except for the part where his anger has gotten the better of him, I agree with him. And I feel really bad about all he's been through. He's been through an extraordinarily high level of trauma. So here's what I want to say. And, Johnny, if you're out there listening, I care about you. And I don't like getting called names. And I don't like people coming in here and trying to ridicule everyone here, because I happen to know that people are working extremely hard on themselves, and they're so humble and willing to look at themselves. And I'm pretty sure you don't really know this channel, because that's what we talk about here. We talk about it's not all in the story. Stop talking about what happened to you all the time. It's okay to acknowledge that, but the solution lies in taking action and changing your life. I am with you on that. I hear what you're saying. Johnny, I want to call you out though, because I can see that you're not all better yet. Your anger has gotten the better of you. You're playing this persona of the asshole online, and it's not cool to do that. I'm telling you, it's not cool. I'm going to guess that this anger thing that you do has really hurt your life. It's hurting you now. So as much as you've taken responsibility for these grave problems, the fact that you're not okay with how different people are, dealing with their trauma and trying to work on it, I feel the same way sometimes, but what I believe is so important is that we not go out just attacking people out about it, because you know what? It's the same thing. You're acting like you're a victim of the way other people do their healing. So here's something, I just want to give you this. Yes, there's so much online. People go on there, they just diagnose everybody in their family. They just say terrible things. They gossip about other people publicly online. And it's a very low level, low vibration way of being, is to just criticize other people. All the best people they evaluate themselves. They look at what they can improve about themselves. If we find that everybody in our life is so terrible, it actually says something about us. So I agree with you about that. We're not a victim in every sense of the word, but I just want to say, healing really begins. I just notice here that one of the most powerful things, I've had the honor and the pleasure. I've had a lot of healing myself, and I get to witness thousands of people healing here, in my midst. And it's very uplifting for me. But what I notice is sometimes the thing that sort of opens the heart is just a little bit of validation, And some people, maybe they've had money and they've gone to umpteen therapists who are just like, it's so terrible, it's so terrible. And they had that validation. And yes, it's possible to just sort of go down that rabbit hole and never come back and work on yourself, to truly get lost in the victim story. I know it's a real thing. But a lot of people are just barely holding it together, and they're using some coping mechanism, which I hear you doing. You're doing some very constructive compartmentalization, telling yourself, I'm not a victim. The thing I have to work on is me. Yes, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And, and I suffered so much. And I acted, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about with the drugs and alcohol, it's just everything you're saying. It's normal, but it's at the far end. It must have been absolutely awful when you were a kid. And, I'm going to just mess up your shit here. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that happened to you. By the time you were grown up and you were starting to do these bad behaviors, it was your responsibility. You did that. You were probably doing trauma-driven behavior. I don't forgive it. I don't write it off. Like it needed to stop. And what you're telling me is that you did stop. You took responsibility. It was you who had to change. And I agree, and that is what I teach, and that's what people are doing here. We're bringing the focus back to ourselves and changing that. It's hard, though. It's a hard path, as you know. I can see, Johnny, you're struggling. You're angry. You're just really angry, and you're lashing out at people you don't know. So there's a symptom. That's a classic symptom. So I'm not above doing that either. But I'm just sort of calling you out. Like, I think you're even a bigger victim than most people here, because of what happened to you, and you're a bigger survivor than most people here because you survived it. But just like the rest of us, you're still lashing out. You're not different. You're not in a position to look down or be on a high horse around people. Everybody's trying to figure this out. We all have a defense mechanism. Yours appears to be anger, to be like this tough guy. It's like, you're just a bunch of pussies. That's really harsh. It's not true either. We're not. I know I'm not. I'm tough as nails. I'm fighting you online. I'm coming back at you, but I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm actually trying to include you here. You'd be most welcome here. Just don't be cruel to people. Don't be a jerk. Come in, sit down, enjoy the techniques. We can teach you techniques to calm the trauma symptoms so that the intense emotions that would drive you to behave in an angry way, this has got to be eating you up. Getting all mad at me on the internet, it's just not a good use of your energy. I don't think it persuades anyone. And I think you'd be happier to have some harmony with people and to have friends. And I'm going to wager, with this level of anger running through you, I'm going to just bet that you're having difficulty with other people, keeping a job, keeping a relationship. That's the thing. That's what gets sacrificed, with CPTSD behaviors. And you got it. You got it going on here. So come on in, just check out what we're doing. Spend a little time learning. And maybe something will change here where you start to realize that we are all victims, but that is not our identity. We were victimized when we had no control over things, and we are now taking charge of our lives. We acknowledge what happened, but in the crappy childhood fairy approach, we're not dwelling on it. You can't change what happened. You can't change other people. You can't change the past. But I've been talking about this lately. When parents abuse kids, they touch them with evil. Evil gets into the kid. And it needs to stop here. And we need to be vigilant about where is that coming out? And Johnny, I'm just seeing it. I'm hearing that evil voice, that hateful voice, and I'm going to guess it. You already heard it from your dad. It's coming through you still. And there's more healing to do, and you'd be most welcome to join us here. We're rooting it out. We use techniques to get the fearful and resentful thoughts onto paper and removed, given up, so that we can then have a fresh idea, a new idea, and something constructive, and become our real selves and start to contribute, to bring our gifts into the world and support other people. It's a very good system for the individual, but also for the group and for the world. When people strive to change their lives and then they reach out and they give somebody else a hand, this is how a whole society gets better. And God knows we need it. We need it. I don't think we can ever stop the fact that some parents are going to abuse their kids. We can't stop it. But we can influence the people we bump into in our life because we are operating under good principles. We don't even have to preach about it. We don't have to brag about it. We don't have to show off. We just have to radiate it. We just give it off. We give off that feeling of goodness. And I invite you to join us. All right? Come in, practice some kindness with people, maybe read some comments and start to open up and learn what road other people have walked. They've had some seriously bad things happen. I particularly get angry when people say everybody had trauma. That's only when you use the word trauma loosely. Now, when you told us your trauma is extreme, but not everybody had that. Johnny, not everybody had that. Hard things happen in everybody's life, but not everybody got punched or hit by a parent. Not everybody was sexually abused, thank goodness. It's a very different thing. When those things happen to a child, they really are a victim and they really are affected by it. So we compartmentalize it like we must. We go into denial. We go into a life of fantasy. We turn into tough guys. We all have our coping mechanism. But now, as we're adults and we begin to heal, we can start to put down our weapons and put down our shields. We don't need to do that so much anymore. It's a gradual transition so that we can begin to experience life more honestly, express ourselves honestly, but without malice towards other people. Take off the glasses where everybody's just an asshole or everybody's against me. It's not so. That's we get into like fantasy delusions and we get into these negative delusions too, that it's so bad. That is normal for trauma. But really what's going on is we got some problems, other people got some problems. A lot of our problems are of our own making at this point because of the people we're getting involved in or the way we can't really follow through on our commitments. We're just like all people here. And I think trauma makes it a little worse. And growing up with parents who maybe didn't teach us the etiquette of how to be a normal person, that can be part of it. And so we help each other. We help each other here. But I know for certain that trying to operate on this kind of like blind rage energy, it's a way out of depression. And if I had to guess, Johnny, I think that's what's happening. You're depressed and your anger is how you get yourself up out of it. But you can't really stay there. It sucks. You're going to drive everybody away. You're going to end up alone. And I know you don't want that. Nobody does. Nobody wants to end up, just completely abandoned by everybody. So the anger, you can heal the anger. I know how to do it. I'm a very angry person, I assure you. And I have so much healing around it. When I don't take care of myself, though, it comes back. It comes back. And I've got my reasons. But I don't want to be identified with that anymore. I don't want to be driven by it. I have a new reality that I've created in my life. I've created this, the crappy childhood fairy. I have some kids. I have a husband. I have some things that I never thought I would ever have in my life. And I cherish them. And then sometimes I get into this bad space and I'm on the verge of messing it all up. I still feel vulnerable to that. And so I need everybody too. I need my tools. I need the support of the loving group. And we all together, like collectively, we can keep our eyes on how to move our lives forward. What are the good values that we share? It's interesting because here, not everybody has the same exact belief system. But we are all in the same reality. We're all interpreting it perhaps differently, but we're all aiming for something better, something good. We want to heal, and healing by nature is the good. So maybe we'll see you, Johnny. Maybe one day you'll take the daily practice thing I teach. It's a free course. It's down in the description section below. You can take it. It takes less than an hour to learn it and see if you can get a little bit of ease and comfort, just naming what's bothering you. If what you have is resentment that everybody thinks they're a victim and it's ruining society, get that on paper. I have that too sometimes. Get that on paper. And there's more. The technique, I teach it really completely in this free course. And there's like 25 FAQ videos. If you have any particular questions, I answer them. And then I do free calls on Zoom where anybody who's learned the techniques can join me. We did a call. It was like 3 hours today. We were there for so long today. And it was people from all over the world and they learned the techniques. And I was teaching and we were talking and I took questions. And you know, I was talking on these same themes. This is how we root out the evil that got into us. We root it out so that it cannot operate through us and drive our behaviors towards the same damaging outcomes that affected us. So maybe you'll join us. If you want to learn, anybody listening, if you want to learn about self-defeating behaviors, and anger and irritation is one of them, I've got a list of 16 of them, and you can start to work on which one is the most important one for you to heal. So it's a free download with self-defeating behaviors worksheet. You can get that right here, and I will see you very soon.